Okay, I'd like to ask Ms. Walker to give us our update on the reopening of schools, please.
Okay. First we want to start by thanking our community members. In June, we started developing our restart and recovery plan, and there were over 150 community members. We had parents, we had teaching staff, we had support staff, paraprofessionals, our administrators, custodians and facility staff, board members. I apologize if I forget anybody, but they worked tremendously hard. It was frustrating work. We were thrown some curveballs along the way, changes that had to be made because they were made at the state level. But by the end of July, very beginning of August, they had created a really solid plan for a hybrid model. And it was a model actually that a lot of the districts copied us on, basically, because we were the first ones to come out with something. We were one of the first ones. So we really do want to thank them for all their hard work. It made all the difference in us being able to, move through this plan into phase 3. We also now have community members working on our pandemic response teams, which are building level teams that are implementing the plan at the building level. And these teams are going to be working throughout the year to monitor and implement the plan. And we also want to thank those community members for all their work on making sure that we're moving through our plan. Last Monday, we started phase 1, and our teachers came into the buildings, and it was very nice to see all our staff after over 5 months. It was a long time without them, and they began by getting their rooms ready, and they did professional development all last week. And, everyone's ready to welcome our students back. This week, we had, actually last week also, the principals had their parent forums to go over all, the plan with their community and also answer any of their questions so that they know exactly what to expect when school resumes for the students. This week, our teachers are holding their individual meetings with the students and parents, their reentry meetings. And we've heard a lot of feedback on how excited the parents and the students are for the students to come back. It's been a long time since they've been out, and even though school looks different, they're so anxious to get back. And our staff was really happy to be meeting their new students, for the first time, and they're also looking forward to seeing them in the classroom. We also want to thank all our custodians and, for all the work that they did over the summer, our administrators who worked so hard over the summer to make this work. On Monday, we will be welcoming all our students back. Cohort A comes Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday will be a virtual day, and cohort B will come in on Thursday and Friday. Our students in special class programs will be going 5 days a week. We really had a great group of people working. We had to clear a lot of hurdles. There are a lot of districts locally and throughout the state that aren't able to open, and we are really proud to be able to welcome our students on Monday, but this was truly a community effort. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the hurdles and, just give some reminders for Monday. So I'm just going to turn this over to Ms. Pekas, she's going to talk about some staffing issues that we've been able to overcome. So Ms. Pekas.
Actually, I think Mrs. Doherty and Mr. Cahill are.
Okay, go first. I'm sorry.
Yes, you can advance the slide, Mr. Rotolo. Thank you.
So Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. So we have had lots of discussion over the summer about all of the areas of facilities that we've been working on and maintenance. And in addition to our normal summer projects, we have put extra emphasis on the areas of our HVAC, ventilation systems, and cleaning, and establishing new protocols for cleaning and sanitizing. So, to recap information that we have been discussing, And also to recap information that we have up on our website, everybody can find more detailed information on our reopening website on our HVAC updates and assessments and so forth. We have made changes in the operations of these systems to allow them to run a few hours before and after student occupation, and actually teacher and student occupation, to flush the indoor air before people come in. And we've also, we're using our control program to remote monitor all of our systems in the secondary schools. And we've upgraded filters, we've added air scrubbers. We had a large project in our elementary units. We've been going through each classroom and reconditioning each unit to improve performance, which means, we've taken them apart, we've re-insulated, cleaned, changed the filters, done any other maintenance that needed to be done. So we did also consult with our architect and engineer to get an assessment of our HVAC systems and look for any recommendations that we might want to consider for improvement down the line. But essentially, we were looking for their input because they have been involved in designing and helping us install a lot of the new equipment that we've been putting in over the last several years through our various projects, whether it's our ESIP, our energy savings plan, or the referendum that we did several years ago. We were able to do a lot of work on our systems over the past several years. We've also enlisted a few new vendors to help us speed up repairs, to supplement our in-house HVAC crew. And we have our own staff going through doing frequent air quality tests to monitor CO2 changes and measuring fresh air. So I know Mr. Cahill's on the line. I don't know if he wants to add anything to that. I don't want to leave anything out that he may want to emphasize.
Yeah, no, I think you covered everything. It's a broad look, but we have been through every unit. We've cleaned them all, even in the secondary schools. All of the filters have been changed. The units have been HEPA-vaxxed. So on Friday, when we had an opportunity with the staff in, we used that to go through and with our backpack HEPA-vaxxed and vacuum all the grates, all the inside of the units on top of that with the new filters. So we feel that our HVAC and ventilation system in general is really operating at full capacity, and we're getting lots of fresh air exchange. So I feel that we're ready for everyone to come back.
Okay, thank you. If we can go on to the next slide. Just to recap some of the health and safety new initiatives that we've been working on over the summer. Of course, like every other district and actually every other business in the country and around the world, we've been purchasing PPE, including masks, gloves, face shields, dividers, gowns, thermometers. All of this has been distributed to all of our buildings. We have purchased a large supply to start the year, but of course we will be monitoring usage to see, where we need to replenish as the year goes on. In addition to that, we've deployed hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes to all of our buildings. We've enhanced our cleaning and disinfecting practices as we've outlined in our reopening plan, where we've added additional staff and changed some scheduling around to allow for some additional cleaning and disinfecting while the buildings are occupied. Daily screenings have been implemented so far with the staff. And of course, the students will start that, as when they come back. I know there's been staff training as the teachers have come back, and the rest of us who have been there 12 months on aspects of our reopening plan to make sure that everybody's familiar with the new protocols and the new procedures and working together to implement the plan. I'll hand it off to Mr. Suliak for technology.
Yeah, we have a couple updates and some significant updates we did this summer in preparation for the fall semester. The first thing is all staff and students have provided a Chromebook. All of our secondary students have those devices in hand at the current time. Elementary students are in a process of receiving those devices at their reentry meetings this week. The distribution continuing until Friday. We're also holding another repair, replace support desk on Friday. We held one last week. We'll hold another one this week for those students who have difficulty with the Chromebooks. So they'll be ready to go for next week. We also this past month implemented automatic software updates on those Chromebooks. So regardless of where the student or staff member is, as soon as they turn that device on, it will be updated to the latest OS version. This will ensure that there's no delay when they come in, whether it's from home or in the building, being up to date with the latest software. Staff all have been provided a webcam to enhance instruction. The webcams can be used on their Chromebook, on their desktop, on their smartboard, or their interactive flat panel. So it's totally teacher prerogative, and we're assisting them with that daily. We continue to prepare our network and accessibility. We've been fortunate enough that we've upgraded all of our network over the course of the last 3 years. With that being said, though, we went back this summer to ensure that all updates and patches and most recent softwares are installed on those switches and access points and servers and firewalls. We could decommission some older servers that we were concerned about and really have no longer a use for them. One of the concerns that arose from planning instruction in a hybrid world was we have some applications and labs where students cannot access them on a Chromebook. So we have configured ports on our firewall to allow student access to those particular labs, to those particular specific software applications, so they can still do their work on the applications that cannot be done on a Chromebook. All user accounts were created, updated, and tested. This is very important, and if we're starting hitting the road running on day one, we need to make sure all those accounts are accessible and working, which we have, and even more so on the third-party applications. Everything from G Suite to BrainPop to Discovery Ed, we ensure that all of those are updated, have the latest rosters, so again they can begin working immediately. We updated some support and troubleshooting tools. We continue to update the MTPS reopening tools resource page. We've included a lot of Google videos on how to use Meet for parents, how to use a Chromebook, terminology, and even best practices. So that's up online now, so parents and students can access that for information. But beyond the regular support site, we worked on most recently on enhancing our communication. We had an incident yesterday where one of our vendors that provides DNS had an outage. They reported 3 times the highest level of network traffic that they have ever had, and it pretty much shut down their East Coast circuit. Luckily, we were able to bypass it and had our network back up in 15 minutes. But it showed us that we need to have a communication with our parents, staff, and students in the event this happened in the future. So that being said, we've been updating all contacts for all staff members in the district. This way we can reach out and contact them in the event there's an outage, whether it's just an application or whether it's a network outage. We'll be able to update and contact them through a number of different resources. And we're also creating what's called our MTPS digital dashboard, which will be in real time and will show any outages, whether it is a G Suite application like Gmail or Meet or Drive, or a network application or an online application. So there'll be one-stop shop for our staff, our students, and our parents to access real-time information and see if the issues they may experience is on their end or on our end.
Okay, so I would like to just give some updates to the community and to the board. We discussed some of this in closed session under personnel. I would be remiss on behalf of myself, Mrs. Walker, if I did not express great gratitude for the administrative team, for the HR department staff who have been working tirelessly over the last couple of weeks to manage what has really come down to a 100% increase in the number of certificated staff leaves of absences, resignations, retirements that we are managing at this point in time compared to the same time period last year. We are no different than any other district in the state of New Jersey. dare I say, across the country that is experiencing great staffing challenges for many different reasons. I am proud, though, to say that in Middletown, we have faced this challenge head on with full commitment from the administrative team and the HR department staff to meet the challenge and ensure that our phased reopening could continue as we had originally planned back in July. So to that end, I will say that as of today, all of our teacher vacancies that begin next week have been staffed, albeit in different ways, and I'll briefly discuss some of those different ways in a minute. Also, when it comes to our paraprofessional vacancies, we've, over the weekend, yes, it was a holiday weekend, but staff was still working, we're able to reduce the number of vacancies with our paraprofessional staff, which was on Friday 16 down to 8 as of today. So we will continue to look and recruit and interview for those paraprofessional vacancies over the next few days. And we do have measures in place to ensure that critical essential positions for paraprofessionals are filled and covered for next week if we still have to do some recruitment and hiring beyond Monday. So the challenges that we are facing really do rest in the fact that a lot of staff, are parents, working parents, just like everyone else, a lot of other people out there, many of you watching, and they've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks their own districts pivoting in many cases to full remote instruction for different reasons. And that has placed, them in a last minute bind, like many of you, to jockey and figure out childcare. So our administrators, our principals have been working very hard in this district to work with those staff members, accommodate them as to the best extent possible to allow them to continue to work so that we could again provide our in-person on-campus instruction here in Middletown. We have currently accommodated over 100 staff members who have documented medical and or childcare needs up to this point in various ways. A very small number of teachers will be beginning the school year working remotely. What that means is they will be off, outside of the classroom, working in an alternate location from other individuals. I will say, if not all, but many of these cases are for medical reasons, documented medical reasons. So for the beginning of the school year, they will be providing the instruction to all students, whether they be students in the classroom or students participating at home from a remote location, but there will be personnel assigned to these classrooms to supervise the students and facilitate their participation and work with the teacher to facilitate instruction as well. But the certified staff member, will be the primary deliverer of the instruction. Again, that is a very small number of teachers. The vast majority of them are at the high school level, albeit maybe, a handful, 3 or 4 at the elementary level. And most of those are special education in-class resource teachers, where the general education teacher will be in the classroom with the students, and the special education in-class resource elementary teacher will be participating remotely and doing breakout rooms with students virtually, as well as co-teaching with the teacher who's live in person in the classroom. So there will still be co-teaching going on. But at the high school level, in many of these cases, we had staff members who reached out to us early on in the summer once we announced our plan, and they had received advice from their own medical doctors that they were in a high-risk category, perhaps, let's say, and it was in their best interest for health reasons to work remotely. And we are accommodating that request, quite honestly, because many of these staff members hold highly specialized certifications. And it would be very difficult in a short turnaround time to replace them with a certified staff, new certified staff member. And we are very confident that these staff members are very skilled and adept at being able to provide this level of instruction. So we felt it was in the best interest of students and the staff members to accommodate this request. As honestly, we've also been advised to do by the state when possible. And we have actually, really tested our ability to accommodate that request, if not exceeded it. it has added an additional stress or burden onto our ability to staff. But again, through the dedication of our building administrators and the HR department, we were able to meet that challenge. We do have some other staff members who, for other reasons, mainly childcare, because of their own children's schedule, they have asked their principals, after providing documentation, if they can be accommodated by leaving at the end of the student day, the in-person student day, taking their lunch, drive, to get back home, to be able to provide some sort of supervision of their student, and then finish their own children, and then finish their virtual day with their students from that remote location, albeit their home. Others have asked for accommodations for medical reasons regarding face coverings, installation of physical barriers or shields, and necessary breaks as prescribed by their doctors. And we have been working with our head nurses and our district physician to review those requests. And Mrs. O'Hagan has been working with the principals to develop employee 504s to make sure that those accommodations are in place. In addition, it has been extremely challenging across the state in terms of ensuring that every district has adequate substitute staffing services. We are very fortunate in this district that we work with a very good partner, ESS, and we've been working very closely with them to analyze our history of staff attendance and substitute needs. We've been looking at averages, rolling averages, monthly averages, broken down by grade levels and specific schools. And we've been very proactive to this point in that we will be staffing dedicated building floater subs in each of our schools, in varying numbers based on need and past history, so that we can ensure that there are dedicated substitutes in every school. We will also be enhancing our substitute personnel management by continuing to use daily substitutes when needed. In addition to that, we are monitoring it's a new factor that needs to be taken into account at this point. It's something we've never had to deal with, quite honestly, in the past. But just like students have to do daily health screening forms, our staff also has to do the same. And we're not quite sure. There's no historical perspective to use to project what our additional needs will be, because how many staff members will be excluded from work because of their health screening forms each morning. But we have been monitoring it since staff reported back last Tuesday. And what we have noted is that there's been every day about 5 staff members who are ineligible to report to work for different reasons, most of which is having multiple symptoms on their health screening form, such as headache or congestion, and or quarantine due to health department contact tracing or quarantine orders, travel quarantine orders. But we are very positive in saying and hopeful, and knock on wood, we hope the trend continues. We've had no report of a positive COVID-19 case among any of our staff members over the last week since the vast majority of our staff has returned to the district. So, again, we feel confident that we're ready to go on Monday. I do just want to take a moment to speak from the curriculum side. I would be remiss if I didn't do that as well, and set realistic expectations for everyone. Our district is on the verge of attempting to do something that very few districts, have done. Yes, there's a couple states that are a little bit ahead of us. We're probably one of the largest suburban K-12 districts in the state who is actually opening with some in-person instruction, in the hybrid form. So we really just need, everyone needs to be patient. Again, I would be very remiss if I didn't say there will be bumps. There will be lives and learn kind of moments over the next couple weeks. What we're trying to do and attempting to implement next week is very different from what we did in the springtime when all students were at a remote location and everyone was participating virtually. Now we have, a situation where staff is again shifting their instructional approaches to be able to effectively meet the needs of students present with them in the classroom, as well as those participating from home. No one has ever tried to do something like this before in Middletown. Again, pretty much across the state. So I do ask for everyone's patience on behalf of the staff, and, you know, just give us some time to work through what those bumps will be. And I also just want to say that I want to caution parents, because I know you had a little window of opportunity in the spring to see what happens in these classrooms, and it is magical. I will say that, you know, the art of teaching really is an art, and it's a science, and it's a little bit of magic, and you had an opportunity to see that, you know, or hear that from your homes in the springtime. But I do just want to say that the start of the school year is very different. It sounds very different. It looks very different from what our classrooms, you know, reveal come March, you know, come the spring. So do not be surprised if you see a little bit more reinforcement of routines, a lot more modeling, a lot more expectation setting, especially these first couple of weeks, because that is important work that needs to be done at the start of the school year, to ensure that our students are available and ready to learn, and productive, you know, moving forward. So I do just want to caution everyone, it will look and sound a little different if you're listening or hearing things at home when your students are participating from home. And that is often the case. You know, there's actually books, you know, the first 20 days of school, and it's all about expectation setting and kicking off the school year. So good luck to I just want to say good luck to our staff and to our students next week. We are so excited to welcome them all back. And we can't wait to hear some sound coming from our classrooms, you know, on Monday. And I'll defer to Nell at this point.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of important reminders for our parents, staff, and students. As Ms. Pickus had spoken about, both staff and students and any visitor coming into the building will be required to complete a health screening survey. For the students, these will be located on the school website. They're school specific. So please make sure that you're going to your student's specific school. If you have 2 students in the district, you'll need to go to both of those schools individually. You can't fill out the same form for both students. And those forms will be a digital, there will be paper copies. If you do not have access to a computer to complete them digitally, please contact your building principal and they will be able to provide you with the health screening forms in a paper version. The next thing, student cohorts and schedules. Our administrators spent a lot of time. We had sent out the survey asking parents to indicate if their students would be attending virtually or in the hybrid model. Once we got that information, our principals sat down and took into account all of the guidelines set forth by the NJDOE and the NJDOH, and they created the cohorts and student schedules that most maximized social distancing guidelines and every other requirement that was in the reopening plan. So we are going to be very selective in making any type of schedule changes. These schedule changes that would have to be made would need to be requested through the guidance counselor or the school administrator, and then reviewed on the need and the rationale for the change. You know, traditionally, a lot of times at the beginning of the year, there's schedule changes made based off elective choices at the high school and secondary level. These changes are going to be not as easily granted this year, again, because we need to continually look at the social distancing guidelines and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to maximize that. So if you're looking to make schedule changes, please think very carefully about that and make sure that the schedule change in the request is based off of a misplacement and not because you want to change electives or any other reason. The next thing is the masks and face coverings. These are required by individuals inside the building. And these are the face coverings and masks that are acceptable. The N95, probably very difficult to get because they are reserved for the healthcare workers. But the other types of face coverings or masks would be the KN95, surgical masks, cotton multiple ply masks or multiple ply masks made of other thick and closely woven fabric. And the important piece there is the closely woven fabric. The gaiters that are made of the performance fabric will not be permitted because the fact that these are not closely woven and they actually break up the particles into finer aerosols and can actually be more of a detriment than a help. So again, we just ask that you review what types of face coverings are permitted, and that if you are a visitor in the building or your children as they come into the school, they have the appropriate face coverings available and are worn at all times. And the last thing on here is just a reminder that the athletics and the co-curriculars will continue to move forward as regularly scheduled. The NJSIAA has put out some guidelines as far as what to anticipate once the fall season does open up, which some of our practices can begin on the 14th. So just a couple of quick things though. One, they're limiting the number of spectators at the events. So they have capped that at a maximum of 500. So as we were going through and the schedules were being developed, we had to take into account some of the restrictions that the NJSIAA has put in place. And for one example is the Middletown North, Middletown South football game. Right now, according to the guidelines, we can only have 500 people in attendance for that game. That is not like our traditional Thanksgiving Day game where we have thousands of people in attendance. So when the schedules were developed, we did take all of that into account. Right now, currently, the North-South football game is scheduled for the end of October. And that is really for a number of different reasons. One, again, it would not be, if those limitations are still in place, it would not be like our traditional Thanksgiving Day game. And also looking at all the research and some of the predictions that are out there, they are predicting that there will be a spike, in November and December. So we were trying to get that game on the calendar as soon as possible to make sure that we gave our kids the opportunity to participate in that traditional North-South game. That does not mean that if, as we approach late October and there is a possibility that we can make that game happen on Thanksgiving and the NJSIAA has lifted some of the guidelines, that is something that we will definitely be considering. But at this point, we thought that it would be best to make sure that we have it on the schedule and ensure that the kids do have the opportunity to participate in that game. And some other things, the NJSIAA has also moved some of our indoor competitions that take place in the fall to a later date, just allowing the outdoor athletic competitions to take place. So that kind of covers where we are with the athletics. And then co-curriculars clubs will continue to take place. All of those opportunities will be taking place virtually as of now. Again, depending on what guidelines we have from the NJDOE and the NJDOH, we will reconsider and, when appropriate, make changes. But the clubs will be taking place. Students will have the opportunity to participate in all of the clubs that normally took place in our traditional school year. But for the start of the school year, they will be taking place virtually. And if you have any building specific concerns, we encourage you to contact your building administration. This is kind of a general summary of what we're doing in the district. Again, every school is a little bit different. So if there's something specific that you would like to discuss, I would encourage you to reach out to your building principal, and hopefully I know they will be able to assist you in that. Okay, thank you.
So on behalf of the entire administrative team, all of our staff members here in Middletown, almost 1,450 of us strong, teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, maintenance custodials, secretaries, security, the technology department, we could go on and on and on. Thank you to the community members who have worked with us over the past, month and a half, 2 months to get us to this point. We are very excited to be moving on to phase 3. We are eager to welcome our students back, after a very long hiatus from their classrooms. There is some, anxiety, nerves, trepidation probably out there from all sides, parents, students, staff members. We're about to do something, like we said before, that we've never done before, but we're excited, and we're going to do our best, you know, and we're always going to keep the students' health and safety at the forefront of everything we do. Again, we just ask for your patience as we work through some of the kinks that are probably inevitably going to pop up over the next couple of days when we start school next week. Hopefully they'll be minor, and we will work as a team to overcome them, again, in serving the best interests of our students.